The beauty about this is building him his dream and a really cool Formula One looking toy. Like and comment, or you should dislike and troll. You should subscribe or unsubscribe. What's up, people? Well, today I wanted to go over the F1 hot rod here because the car is nearly complete. Wanted to show you guys what's up with it, give you the full kind of rundown and review of how it was built and where it is. The completion is coming up soon for me, and then I know the owner is going to do a lot of cool things with it. But I just wanted to bring you guys and show it to you. I'm here by myself, so I hope you'll forgive the vlog style. But let's just go for it. So, for all those of you who didn't really get to see the series and whatnot, the gentleman came to me and his dream was Formula One. But of course, even Formula One rollers are very expensive, and Formula One cars of any era are built highly specialized with things that don't translate well to maintaining it over years to come without insane and great expense. So he wanted something that made him feel good of those memories, that made him fall in love with racing and cars, but it's got to be something you're actually going to want to have for a long time and inexpensive to maintain. So long story short, what we've got here is a 1990 Lola IndyCar monocoque, which is a carbon fiber and aluminum hybrid. So you got your carbon fiber monocoque from about here and up. And then from here, it's aluminum honeycomb at the bottom and all bonded together. And then the rear here, I made a tubular space frame to hold the highly built Hayabusa motor and drivetrain that came out of a Radical. But it still retains the IndyCar suspension with the pickup points and the hard points in the stock location, so the suspension still works well. Of course, the IndyCar versus a Formula One car has 15-inch diameter wheels instead of 13 like a Formula One car, so it's a lot easier to get tires. These are in fact Mickey Thompson tires, which wouldn't necessarily be what I would track the car on if I were going to track it. They're more of a DOT kind of radial, and that's nice because they're going to hold air forever, and they got a lot of tread, so it's nicer to roll around, have it in a collection for many years to come. Whereas, and just as an example, over here in the corner, those are some actual IndyCar tires made by Avon. They're very lightweight, they're very nice, but they don't hold air forever just because of the nature of their the rubber, and they'll dry out quicker. So these tires are much nicer to have in a collection. But if you go over it, obviously the front suspension is here stock. This particular IndyCar has the steel brakes, floating steel brakes, which you can see right here. I'm just going to start showing you guys stuff. So you see the steel brakes with the aluminum hat in there, some titanium hardware, and those awesome Brembo calipers. So that's all really nice, and the braking system is stock for the Formula One car. You can also see it here again. Very, very cool and working really well, which is also nice. And you guys can't see it right now. I apologize because the nose is on. But inside the nose here is the reservoirs and the master cylinders for the clutch, and then one for the front brakes and one for the rear brakes. And of course, you can dial it. You can turn a knob in the cockpit, which I hope you'll be able to see here. Let's see. Oh my gosh, let me take the steering wheel off. Okay, so right here, if you can see this knob, you turn that, and it makes a bar move from left to right. So it changes how much leverage you have on the master cylinder for the front or the master cylinder for the rear, which in turn changes your braking bias. So that's called a bias bar. The other technique for doing that is to have a valve, a proportioning valve on your rear brake lines to do it. But in this circumstance, a bias bar is much better for racing. Now, the Lola, and you can see its badge right here, Lola. The cockpit is very, very tight. I'm 6 foot tall, I weigh 167 pounds, and I just barely fit with my legs. In fact, my shins just graze the steering rack. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. We're gonna try it. There's a steering rack in there. Your shins just graze that. And the other crazy thing is you guys don't see the shocks. Well, this is the push rod here. So as the wheel goes up and down, you guys can see this one here, this diagonal one that goes up here. As this goes up, that sort of pushes inward. And as it pushes in here, it pushes this big bell crank right here, which pivots, and then you guys can see the tops of the shocks right here, one here and one here. So your legs actually go right underneath the shock, and then you can just hopefully be able to see the pedal. That right there is the brake pedal, clutch is over there, and then of course the gas. And I was really happy because we were able to get a different size master cylinder diameter that was the perfect proportioning size to be able to work the clutch This is the banjo hookup right here for the clutch, hydraulic clutch now on the Hayabusa. Of course, this Hayabusa motor is, I think you'll be able to see it. The Hayabusa motor is in fact dry sump. You can see down there, let's see if I can point, down here that gold pan on the bottom, and you see all the big AN lines sucking everywhere. Well, it's dry sump. So the oil for this car is stored in a tank, which is inside the monocoque and behind this magnesium alloy plate. So actually, this is where you fill up the oil right here, and there's a big tank, and the oil can swirl and separate bubbles from it, and then the engine, the oil pump, pulls the oil out that's all nice and clean with no bubbles and unaerated, and then pumps it into the engine. The engine also is using an electric water pump here. We got a fan, so that's going to be really nice, so you can turn that on and off as you need instead of using an old school thermostat. This one, of course, has these awesome slide carburetors here, which are great because then you don't have a butterfly in the airstream. That helps you make more power. Of course, this being a highly built Hayabusa motor originally by, looks like Nelson Engines here. You name it, the works. Conrods, higher compression pistons, cams, knife-edged crank, cryo-treated basket, gears, everything is beefed up. Hayabusa motors are neat, but this is a really built one. And the reason for choosing this drivetrain instead of actually doing a car drivetrain is because, one, there's not a lot of room in here. And the bike motor has its own gearbox and integral, which is sequential shifting, which is a lot of fun. Let me show you the shifter up here. So obviously I got the steering wheel off, but here's the shifter. I'm sorry about the light, but this is the same phenolic knob that was on the Indy car, except I've changed it. You pull back to upshift, just like that, just like a bike. And if you want neutral, it's right between first and second, just like that, just like a bike. So that's going to be a real joy to shift. And if the gentleman's good at it, he'll be able to just blip the throttle like a shifter car and upshift. Although it'd probably be nicer if you just dab the clutch for everything. You want to keep it happy for a long time. One of the downsides you got to look at with having a bike motor in, though, is it was made for a bike. And this obviously has a heck of a lot more traction. And cookies, yay. And it has a lot of traction. That's why it's important to have a really strong clutch basket, clutch, and gears, because if you try to just keep revving this up and dumping the clutch and hole shotting it, if the clutch grabs that well, you're eventually going to break something, and it's probably going to be with the Hayabusa motor and gearbox because it wasn't designed to be beat on that hard. Now, the other thing I want to bring up, and the reason why that was done that way versus utilizing the stock IndyCar transaxle, which is a magnesium case, and all the suspension points, you know, like here and here and here, all that used to bolt to the transaxle. In fact, this assembly here was the original from the IndyCar, and that bolted to the top of the transaxle. Of course, I made a space frame. Well, the gearbox for an IndyCar holds a lot of power. It shifts well and it's heavy, but there's also a fair amount of drag in it. And this, you could mate a motorcycle engine to this, to the input shaft of the gearbox. You can CNC a bunch of things with spur gears or a chain. I wasn't wild about it. It's just more drag. It's just more complexity. Of course, you would have a reverse with the stock gearbox, but it would also be lame because you'd have to turn the motor sideways and it'd start looking stupid. So by building it this way, this makes the lightest weight, strongest, best all-around car effectively like a Formula 1000 on super steroids, configured more like a Formula 1 car. The other thing is, by making the space frame in the back, I was able to actually change the wheelbase. So the distance between the rear wheel and the front wheel is now correct for the early 90s Formula 1 car. So that was really important for the guy to be able to live his dream with it. The other thing you'll notice is the rear wing I have configured, and by the way, these lights are just sitting on it. It was something I was checking out. The wing I configured and made to be just like an F1 car. These wing elements here are different shapes from Indy cars at the time. In fact, this was never used, and the stays here, so really, really nice stuff. And this is some beautiful, real, solid carbon fiber, all cut out in the same configuration as you'd see with a Formula 1 car of the era. F1 cars were multi-plane and more vertical, whereas Indy cars were kind of like horizontal, and then they had just like one big element that comes up like that with a couple other elements rather than those two-plane type things, which you can see illustrated by some is in the late 80s and early 90s F1 cars here. You can kind of see how the wings are configured. But the other thing nice about this particular one is back in 1990, the Lola IndyCar tub or monocoque, which starts here and goes to the nose, is a shape that is most resembling Formula One of the time. So I was really happy with that. The front wing, really close to F1. We kind of, the biggest difference would be if we changed the side fences here and reshape this just a little bit, but it's so close to F1 of the time, it's not worth changing because it's a really, really nice piece. And then this particular one was an oddity for IndyCar because it was an early one from the early 90s, a real car that then they took and put on new side pods and a new engine cover. And the car already had a really good Formula One shape for the early 90s because they were kind of trying to showcase that they're going to have the IRL cars come out during the split 96, 97. So they actually made these special side pods and engine cover. Here you can see for the show. They're very nice. They're made out of carbon fiber. They all fit well and are going to look really beautiful when he has the thing repainted. But it has that good F1 look. So that's what that's all about. But I've really enjoyed doing this project. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing it. My job was simple. I talked with him, and the best way to make something is we took the old roller of the IndyCar, which of course is a non-street legal, non-titled, bill of sale only race car with no engine, and then an old Radical, which had really great running gear and everything that he bought cheap. So all that stuff could be stripped down, and I'd have a heck of a lot of cool parts to make something really cool for him. Now, I will say this is in fact a budget build. So I understand a lot of you watching are master fabricators, craftsmen, and racers and stuff like that. And I will say, guys, first of all, it's not done. And secondly, this was done on a budget. So if you want to critique anything from welds to using a used piece or something like that, you're welcome to do that. But the beauty about this is building him his dream and a really cool Formula One looking toy that tickles the fancies and turns all the right gears for him on a budget to be reasonable. Still a fair amount of cost in it, of course, but it's going to be something that is serviceable. You can take the side pods off quite easily with a Phillips screwdriver. They're quarter turn fasteners, and you'll be able to change the oil in this thing easily as well. You simply drain the sump tank and then change the filter, which you can easily access over here on the right side. You can see the oil filter, this black one, down in there kind of by the header. Going to do some heat shielding and whatnot, and obviously this wiring is from the Radical, so stuff is going to be shortened and elongated and all that. But just wanted to make something that would be cool and safe that he can work on and tinker with and do whatever it is that he wants to in the future. But it was fun, little things like doing a new Momo steering wheel for the time and countersinking it, putting on the quick release. It's just fun to do that. Had a really nice stack, both digital and analog dashboard, which I dig that and vibe with it. So it's just, it's pretty cool to be able to make his dreams come true with this. I know that he's going to repaint it and do some decals and things like that, and they're going to finish it. And of course, when he starts driving it, he's going to want to nut and bolt check things, check fluids, and do all that, because most of the parts on this were used that I started with. They're good, but obviously this is as a car or build can get. So if he wants to run it, if he wants to drive it anywhere, if he wants to try to put things on it and make it street legal, that's going to be on him. But I was really honored to be able to do a cool build like this. That he gave me the opportunity. I'm actually quite proud of it. I think it's a nice piece, and I think it's a good start for him for something that's that dream and that wild hot rod and something to work on. So I'd look forward to see what he does with it. Of course, it is a very specialized machine, so it's going to require care and thought about how to enjoy it well, but I think there's going to be a lot of smiling people with it. So I look forward to see what he does with it and how he changes it and where it goes. But it's pretty neat, and I think this is evocative of just a cool build, showing that you don't need directions and instructions and kits or just modify street cars, that you too can build your dreams, even if it is something so stratospheric and crazy as having your own Formula One car toy, or something that feels and acts like it, but is actually enjoyable and more of a real world opportunity without being so absurdly powerful that almost no one can drive it and enjoy it. So I think this is going to be a very enjoyable car to own. But again, my job was to create this, build it, put it together, and make sure that these systems and such are done right. But from there, what he wants to do with it will be his own. So you're probably not going to get to see me like ripping around it and doing all kinds of crazy things because I want to get it finished and the end of my part of the build, shall we say, and then let him do his thing. But hopefully he enjoys it for years to come, and we get to do a cool update and maybe see it moving around and doing stuff. But I just wanted to give you guys that update. It's really cool, and I'm pretty proud of it. I kind of wish it was painted right now because it doesn't necessarily show as well. But you know, any car looks amazing when you get all the decals and everything on it finally. But just really fun, and it's fun to find smart ways to mount radiators and things like that that are delicate. With this, I made some sheet aluminum captive pieces for the top and the bottom, and they have a high density, high temperature foam in it, so it's held together with spring tension. I'm a big fan of springs. They're always doing work for you. And then to have that located, the bottom piece here is riveted to the carbon fiber under tray. And then I've got these two cables here which locate it vertically. And then with the side pod, there'll be some closed cell foam around it, so all the air coming in will direct through this radiator. There's no shrouding here for super high speed because this is obviously more of a hot rod. So at all the speeds that this will go, you know, all the air that will go in the intake, which will be about this big, will be forced to go through the, this is the oil cooler here, and then of course the water radiator over here in aluminum. So I think it's gonna cool really well, but it's a heck of a good starting point, and I was honored to be able to work on it for the gentleman, help him make his dream come true. So that's about it, guys, but yes, thumbs up. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy it. And then, of course, here's the King Zero. It's back in my working area. I'm very excited to get back onto that. I know you guys are as well. But there it is, guys. There's the Formula One hot rod. So I'm excited to see what all he does with it. But my task is just about done. So I got more builds will be coming up, of course. We're going to get back to the King Zero. We're going to keep it a little real. Going to keep doing this channel forever more. And I've got some things planned for next year as well. So I hope you guys enjoy the adventures and some of the creativity, and Genius Garage is going to start soon. So I look forward to mentoring students with you know, race cars like the Corvette up there, or maybe showing some fuel efficiency experiments with the Omega car. And then of course, if you want to talk Formula One, I've got something even crazier up here. Actually, I don't. It's Genius Garage's car. You guys likely may have known, but this is where the airplane used to be that I built with the students years ago. And so here's Genius Garage's V10, BMW V10 powered Daytona prototype. And of course, our Lotus Exosphere, which was an unbelievable donation to the Genius Garage program. This is the one that was featured on Top Gear, driven by Jeremy Clarkson in the Stig with John Lacey. And this is legit, came from Lotus's legit Formula One program. Is a expensive car, is difficult to maintain, difficult to drive, and that's why I'm excited. I think it'll be a great learning opportunity. But that's Genius Garage's car. Kind of just wanted to show you guys this because this comes from Formula One, their technology in Lotus. Of course, it's got a lower horsepowered engine in it, but still 640 horsepower, and basically capable of setting the track record almost everywhere in America that a modern Formula One car hasn't been. But you know, when not everybody can have something like this, because it requires incredible technical skill to operate, maintain, service, drive, and race. So it's great for Genius Garage and great for teaching and launching careers, but it's a difficult car, and one that is fun in a different sort of way. It's rewarding because it's very difficult. But the hot rod over here, this should be fun in that really cool tinkering on your go-kart when you were a kid sort of way, and the big boy toy. So I hope he enjoys this thing I built for his dreams out of some old junky race cars. That's it, guys. You should like and comment, or you should dislike and troll. You should subscribe or unsubscribe. Either way, it'll all work out in the end, and I'll see you guys next time.